Tana Talk 4, the sequel to Tana Talk 3, the album many consider to be Benny's best album of all time, or Griselda's best album of all time for that matter. So can this sequel live up to the original? Will it be Only Built for Cuban Links 2 or Dre's 2001? Or will it be like the Blueprint 3?
Go subscribe, subscribe.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Brews and Reviews. It's knowledge, and today you already know I'm reviewing Benny the Butcher's Tana Talk 4. And before we get into it, let's acknowledge this album art, just like the painting on Tana Talk 3. This is a reproduction of a picture that Benny had as a child, and this one's even more interesting because it actually features him, Westside Gunn, and his deceased brother known as Machine Gun Black. And yeah, Benny's the little one in the middle. Let's get into this project.
The Butcher coming!
Johnny P's Caddy, I really like that they start with this track, the first single. There's no talking, there's no introduction, there's no shortened song with just one verse, straight to the first single, and really still one of the best tracks of 2022, the best Alchemist production, and probably the best guest feature of the year so far with J. Cole. I reviewed this whole track when it dropped, and check that out if you haven't seen it, if you want to know my full take on this song. But this song has actually gotten even better since I reviewed it, and in the context of this album, it really fits in. The next track is Back 2 Times, produced by Daringer and Beat Butcha. Very traditional Griselda beat from the in-house producers on this, and Benny speaks the truth when he says that we wanted to hear him over a Daringer beat because we did. He compares himself to Pac then and Boldy James now. Straight up respect for Boldy to be in the same sentence as Tupac. And I was actually just thinking when I saw this track list how much Boldy's stock has gone up. The track featuring him was really the one that I was most excited about, although I was the second most excited to hear this track because of another in-demand feature artist right now with Stove God Cooks, and I have not heard this man fail since I first heard him when he dropped Reasonable Drought. He definitely makes every song that he's on with the chorus alone. Case in point with this track, he's not even saying anything special, but his unique inflections and cadences are like metaphorical crack to my ears. So that's what he's cooking now, the ear crack, metaphorical ear crack. Super plug, Alchemist blessed us with another one and handles many beats on this project. He's just not trying to let anybody get that Producer of the Year title. The man is relentless in his heat that he drops. And he even has a tag at the beginning of this. Alchemist coming through with producer tags. All you other producers need to watch out. But really, like, we already don't know an Alchemist beat when we hear it. We got a nice flow from Benny on this, utilizing the slower beat to maintain the same triple rhyme scheme in each line. Although he should have brought Stove God back for the chorus, because this one is a little lackluster in the chorus part. Weekend and the Perrys, Uncle Al at it again with one of those chipmunk soul samples, and Benny solidifies his history and place in hip-hop, saying, "Who didn't I put on? Took L's and then I regroup. On a shoestring budget, I showed them what I could do. Ask Jake and ask Cap about the bosses that I produced. I'm West's best investment, and that's between me and you." And Boldy James, who always sounds amazing over Alchemist beats, does not disappoint, oozing with the flow. He says, "Took everything that came with it, and that came with a check, but yet and still rich off pain and depressed." 10 More Commandments featuring Diddy. We know what this is going to be, an unofficial sequel to the Biggie Smalls classic 10 Crack Commandments. This is bold and brave for Benny to go there, but can he hold up to the standard of quality that Biggie spit? I mean, at least he got DJ Premier, the producer of the original, to co-sign this. Plus, you know, Diddy's here, so that's something, right? I do like the minimalist beat, bass line, and drum emphasis that's all a little reminiscent of the original. And I like that Benny starts with 22, not 10, because he's not trying to redo Biggie's crack commandments, but he's just adding to them and in some cases updating them for the current decade. From the beginning, though, it does sound like Benny's a little bit behind the beat. Maybe he shouldn't conjure Biggie Smalls, because we'll immediately start comparing him to Biggie's flow. He doesn't have the concise clarity that Biggie had on the original track. Some of his rules hit, but Biggie's list was perfect, so it's really hard to compete. But here's one that makes sense, and he updated for modern times. He says, 13 tricky, Biggie couldn't even approach it. When he was slinging and toting, this wasn't even a focus. No social media posting greedy emotions. Chase fame and not the money. That's broke shit. Y'all be on hoe shit. And here's the full list. I'll flash it real quick on the screen. Also check this in the description. I broke all these down to their simpler terms. Benny should have used simpler terms actually when he was describing these in the track, because I think you get a little lost in what he's trying to portray here. But this essentially is what he's saying, and I'll put this in the description of the video also. Tyson versus Ali. This is like the 2022 version of Meth versus Chef. And I've gone back and forth with Griselda too, just like I did with Wu-Tang. But in my mind, ultimately, Conway is Meth and Ali, for that matter, which means he's the best. But really on this track, it's all love, with both MCs throwing mad respect to each other. And Conway's last line on this about tell B-Dot, I said F his list. That's about a podcaster who put out a top 10 rapper of 2021 list. Conway was 4 and Benny was 5 on that, which apparently ain't enough for the Griselda dudes. They know that they're better than 4 and 5. Uncle Snoop, Uncle Al, and now Uncle Bun B of Underground Kings. Why every hip-hop figure that's getting up there in age that's been around a while got to be an uncle? I don't know about that. And Benny and 38 Spesh go back and forth with this with some good cadences and lyrics. And Benny says, these the results you get when you the reason the culture shift. Don't believe in that vulture shit, had to feed my associates. I make sure everybody eat. Yeah, I think like a socialist. $1 million empire from a piece of a broken brick. Thoey's Revenge. Who the fuck is Thoey? But there's some triumphant horns from Al on this, making it a good track. Billy Joe, another Al beat, got a loud Griselda tag at the beginning. I think it's extra loud, and it makes me realize that I think this is the first time we heard the Griselda tag, which is unusual. But 9 tracks in, here it is for the first time. And we got some introspective and timely lyrics from Benny here. He says, I let him make me out of the villain. I stay poised as Putin be. Y'all trying to do the pig's job. Y'all like the boys in blue to me. I wasn't really good at shit, so selling poison suited me. Low income based living, my pops avoided schooling me. Guerrero, pretty crazy beat here from Beat Butcha and Daringer. A little different from their normal sound, some bleeps and blips. Almost sci-fi, otherworldly UFO type of beat. And Benny is referencing many of his previous track titles here, opening up with some good tracks from Tana Talk 3. He says, I was barely known, but see, I bodied every flow. That's when the rubber bands and weight just made me 97 Hove. He doesn't, ironically, mention my favorite track off that joint, which is Who Are You? with featuring Royce, and Royce should have been featured on Tana Talk 4. I don't know why he's not here. There was such great chemistry on that track on Tana Talk 3. Not a great verse from Westside Gunn on this, but he always sounds good over Daringer production, really making this whole thing a highlight. And I'm gonna drink to this. I'm drinking a Hoop Snake from 9 Man Brewery in Tulsa, Oklahoma, local to me. This is a nice, dark, complex beer for these complex beats and rhymes that we're getting on this album. Let's get back to it. Bust a brick, Nick. Believe it or not, I wasn't actually feeling this Al beat as much. This is a little simplified for his style, and ironically, it's Benny who really makes the song over Alchemist, and with probably his best bars on the entire project. Comes through with many punchlines on this, but this is one highlight, one laugh out loud moment for me. He says, "No love songs, I keep it gangsta 24/7. You crying ass rappers label should have sent y'all to Ellen." What do you think of Conway's last album, though, where the dude was actually talking about crying in his lyrics and got much more emotional with lyrics? It obviously ain't a call out at Conway, but you kind of got to wonder if maybe Conway's looking at him like, what are you talking about here? You trying to say something? You know, I'm the Ali, I'm the Method Man, you're just a Tyson. Mr. Chow Hall, another more revealing track, and it seems that Benny saved his deepest lyrics for the end of the album. He reveals that even after getting shot in Houston, he wouldn't cooperate with the cops, and he perfectly summarizes the Griselda dynamic when he says, "They say West is the brains and Benny is the star. Conway is the silliest with the bars. Well, I couldn't agree more." This seemed to end a little abruptly for me. I could have gone for another 2 tracks or so. This is a really solid project, but unfortunately it's not close to Tana Talk 3, although that album is hard to compete with. Lyrically, Benny also ain't changing enough to keep us interested like Conway did with God Don't Make Mistakes. But still, this is exactly what we want from Griselda. Great beats, great features, and an MC who doesn't get too flashy and just gives us those gritty bars. I give this an 8 out of a 12-pack. Thank you for watching my review of Tana Talk 4 by Benny the Butcher. If you like this, go ahead and hit like now and hit me up in the comments. If you didn't like it, also let me know why in the comments. I drop hip-hop and hop-related content consistently, so subscribe to my channel now. And until I see you next time, keep buzzing. Fucking man says subscribe.
But if he's on his channel saying that somebody's album is better than mine, unsubscribe to that motherfucker.
No, your album's the best, man.
There you go. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe.